Hello, welcome to the Basketball Soapbox. I'm your host, Daniel Daly. And in this one, on episode 45, we will be talking about game one, the first game in the second round so far of the Nuggets and Suns that happened last night. The Nuggets pulled away and had a 125 to 107 victory and were controlled pretty much throughout the whole game. This kind of just reminded me of those high octane offensive teams. You think about the Nuggets of the 80s with Alex English and Kiki Vandeweghe and stuff like that. And you think about the Phoenix Suns with KJ, Dan Marley, and Charles Barkley, those early 90s Suns teams that just got up and down the floor and just had so much offensive talent on the floor. And you think about Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Chris Paul. You think about all these offensive great players and how this game turned out. Basically, the Nuggets were in control the whole way, got a lot of energy guys helping out. But let's start here with Jamal Murray with 34 points and 9 assists. Really took over in that third quarter, just going AWOL, right? Just knocking down a whole bunch of threes, a whole bunch of shots. And Denver really brought it on the offensive side of the ball, which pretty much was their only chance, right? In terms of when you look at the offensive firepower that the Suns have behind Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, you think that you'll just have to continue to get some type of offensive scoring, and you don't see anybody individually better than those guys on the Phoenix Suns, but collectively they can do that, and that's what they did in this game. In terms of Jamal Murray really just taking it up a notch, really going off in that third quarter. I thought he was going to go for 40 in that game. The way he was heating up in that third quarter, but just really played really well. The Suns had no answer to defend him. Trying various guys on him, just couldn't do it, and he just took off. Nikola Jokic really quiet. You wouldn't think that you're looking at the game that he had 24 points and 19 rebounds, but he had a couple there. He had 14 rebounds in the first half, and really just trying to get multiple touches out on the glass, the offensive glass, and really battling down there and really taking advantage of that on the front line and really providing that help that Denver desperately needed right there on the edge there to give them that advantage. And really just played well. Both these guys really are the leaders of the Denver Nuggets, and the way they played and just played with so much poise and so much execution, really taking it to the Phoenix Suns in this one, especially pushing the pace in transition, getting easy buckets. Jamal Murray had a fantastic play in the third quarter where he stole the ball, went between two Suns defenders behind the back, continued and did a reverse layup over Kevin Durant. You can look that up on the highlights. He played marvelous in game one, and really led by example. But let's get into the others for the Denver Nuggets here. Aaron Gordon with 23 points, really establishing himself. I believe he had 3-pointers in the game, really taking it and using his muscle and strength to overpower the Suns' front line there and their backups, really, when they had no answers, especially when the Suns went to the bench for Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, all these guys here. Bruce Brown played fantastic, really providing that ball hog defense that those guys needed on that side of the ball with Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown, and KCP playing marvelous defense on Kevin Durant, forcing Kevin Durant to have 7 turnovers in the game, basically nearly half of the Suns' turnovers, which he said in the press conference after the game. And you see just the energy that and the depth that Denver had in this game, especially with the scoring prowess, multiple guys contributing. And on the defensive end, the ability to get stops. And I think that's the one thing where Denver has an advantage, especially where they can rely on a little bit more than the Phoenix Suns, right? Like they can get defensive stops. They have guys that can play defense. That's why they went out and got Bruce Brown. That's why they went out and got KCP. So you're looking at those guys that they added in the offseason now to this team, and they're paying dividends right now. And I think this is the perfect series for that when they need guys to chase around Booker, harass Chris Paul, put various guys on Kevin Durant, because you're not going to do that. Kevin Durant had, 15 in the first quarter and was really cooking with gas. He only finished with 29, but we'll get into that. But you're really seeing the depth of the Denver Nuggets, especially in game one, Braun off the bench. Jeff Green played vital minutes and made some key plays. So you're just getting various guys contributing, and as well as the guys on the starters, especially with Jamal Murray in the game that Nikola Jokic had. That's the recipe right now. They're not going to do, not one guy's going to individually do it. It's going to take a little bit of everybody. I believe KCP and Michael Porter Jr. had 10 points apiece. But you're getting multiple guys in double figures, right? And that's what you need against the Phoenix Suns to go against that firepower in case they are on a night. which you would expect at some point in this series. But right now, I give Denver the edge. I believe I picked Denver in 6. And this is why I just thought the depth of the Denver Nuggets was going to play dividends in this series and just overall overwhelm the Phoenix Suns. They have various guys that can even throw out Chris Paul at the point of attack and really get him off their game, force Kevin Durant to be rush his shots a little bit there, and especially with the turnovers and being able to steal and help off of him. That's very difficult, especially if the Suns aren't hitting shots like they weren't tonight. I'll also get into that, but let's get into the Suns here. The Suns are desperately looking for answers. Kevin Durant had 29 points and 14 rebounds and 3 blocks. Looking at that stat line, you would think, yo, Suns won this game, right? Like Kevin Durant nearly had 30 points, 14 rebounds, 3 blocks on the defensive end. No, they did not. And even Devin Booker had 27 and 8. 27 points and 8 assists there, and that wasn't enough. Like, they really didn't get much help after that. I believe Chris Paul had 11 and 5 on the night. He was okay, but it's like they need a little bit more offensive firepower around those guys, and especially the guys to knock down shots. And when you look at the difference in this game, the Suns really just didn't have an answer to get stops or stop the various attacks of Jamal Murray, right? Like the pick and rolls, the isolations that he was able to create. Aaron Gordon stepping up, being able to step in and knock down some threes, even though they're playing soft defense on him. He stepped up and knocked down those shots. And also his ability to attack the rim, use his strength and his muscle. Suns had no answer for that. Like, they can't throw anybody out there that can give them enough balance on both sides of the ball. And I feel like that's something that they lost in that Kevin Durant trade, right? Even though that was a move that probably 10 out of 10 teams in the NBA, all 29 other teams that didn't have Kevin Durant at the time, probably were looking at that and be like, yeah, that's a trade we'll probably do. And you look at the impact of it now, where they don't have those defenders there. They don't have that versatility with Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson to switch, take on the challenge of guarding a guy like Jamal Murray, stepping up and battling a guy like Aaron Gordon, or providing help defense and causing havoc in getting in Nikola Jokic's way. So you don't have those guys there, and that's really tough, and they're looking for answers right now. And the only answers they have is that probably that Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are going to have to continue that high minutes load that people are worried about, especially with Kevin Durant. They're going to have to get a big game out of Chris Paul. Chris Paul is going to have to at least score 20 points, provide some type of first team, 9-team, all defensive team that he had at some point in his career, and try to go that route. It's going to be interesting to see if they can actually do that. And especially looking at this series, it's going to be tough. And they're looking at guys and they're trying to figure out, hey, who can we get help from in terms of bench production? How can we get some help in terms of another guy stepping up and really helping out? Because that's another big difference, where Denver can at least look to their bench and look to get Bruce Brown in there, look to get Jeff Green, look to get a Reggie Jackson, even Chris Braun. Guys of that nature that are going to come in and create some type of havoc, provide some type of energy, and that's what Phoenix is basically looking for. Torrey Craig was able to come in. He's been the unsung hero. They went with Josh Okogie in the starting lineup. Are they going to be able to get Terrence Ross, Shaman, Damian Lee, Cameron Payne, like all these guys, Josh Landell? Like, you're looking at one of these guys like, yo, who are we going to put in there? And this has been the question mark, especially for the Suns since that trade, right? Like, they've been looking to find the 7th, 8th, 9th guy that they can rely on. And I believe Pat Riley says play 8 but trust 7, or something of that nature in terms of the playoffs. And it's really tough for the Phoenix Suns to find those guys. If those guys aren't hitting shots, and especially they're not able, the inability to play defense, that's really tough for the Phoenix Suns right now. And that's something that they're going to have to try to address in game 2 as we look forward to that on Monday. But the Nuggets were leading in multiple categories, really pouring it on in the 3-point department. We're 16-7. And that's something that where the Suns are not really a strong 3-point shooting team anymore, right? Like, they don't live and die by the 3 like a lot of the teams in the NBA. They really work the mid-range, really get to the basket, get to the line. But shooting the 3 is something that they don't naturally do, right? Like, that's not their strength. That's not their strength. And then on the glass, Nikola Jokic had 19 rebounds tonight. They led the Nuggets led the rebounding battle 49-38. And when you're getting those multiple offensive opportunities, that's draining, especially for a team that's as depleted as the Phoenix Suns, that has to battle and really have to battle on the glass and use their offensive firepower to get in games. That's tiring to do that, and especially when you're losing those type of battles with the three-point shooting and the rebounding, and the Nuggets had 14 steals tonight to the Suns 4. So the Nuggets are creating those opportunities, right? It's really tough for the Phoenix Suns. I just don't see it, and that's why I went with the Nuggets because of the depth and because of the offensive ability of the Denver Nuggets, especially pushing it in transition, getting those easy buckets that we saw tonight. It's very difficult for the Phoenix Suns to continue that. Like, the only chance they have is that Kevin Durant and Devin Booker both score 30 plus every series, every game, and try to get back into it, right? Like that's something that's a high calling card. But these guys are number one scorers. They're supposed to do that. They're called upon to do that, and they're capable. But when you turn over the ball, you're not getting the second chance opportunities. You're not getting the rebound opportunities. That's very, 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 very tough. That's very tough to do against this Nuggets team, which is motivated. They heard all the talk, especially everyone picking the Suns, everyone picking the Lakers, people picking the Clippers, people picking the Warriors, and people not picking the Denver Nuggets, even though they've been the one seed. They've been generally healthy throughout the whole season. They have the most continuity, the most chemistry, and they're not picked, right? Like, that's something that is that can motivate them, right? And I hope it does, because I feel like Denver Nuggets, they have been disrespected all season. And for them to have a guy that's a two-time MVP, have a guys like Jamal Murray, who's a capable scorer, Michael Porter Jr. is a capable scorer, Aaron Gordon, who's a two-way player, you're looking at the depth of this team. It's like, why aren't they? Why aren't they being considered? And I feel like they have a lot of matchup problems for a lot of teams. They can play a certain style. They've gotten better on the defensive end, especially with the additions of Bruce Brown and KCP, as I said earlier. Nikola Jokic next to Aaron Gordon at least holds up well. He's at least able to battle, and I think Aaron Gordon has been really good for Nikola Jokic as a pairing, and I think they have really shored up that end of the floor. And at least if they're in the high-octane game, at least they know at certain points, hey, we know we can get stops, and I think that's the most important thing. As for the Suns, it's just wondering what are their answers going into it. I mean, they don't have those guys like Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson to basically take on those defensive assignments now. Josh Okogie is probably going to have to try to fit like a glove on Jamal Murray, just stick to him, wear him down, try to figure something out, battle through those screens. But I think the only chance they really have is to have their offensive firepower going. Now, with that said, all that, it's only game one. Denver did what they were supposed to do, right? Like, you take care of business at home. They were sitting down, waiting. They did what they had to do. They played how they played at home. Denver's a tough place to play, high altitude, wears on the lungs, all that stuff. We know what that does. But the ability to run and gun like that holds weight in their favor, right? Like, especially off the rebounds and defensive stops, and able to push in transition and get easy buckets. That's what Denver's supposed to do. That's what they do at home. And it's not over, right? Like, Phoenix Suns does have the offensive firepower. They do have two All-Stars. They have a former MVP. They have a point guard in Chris Paul. And it's like, you're just wondering, what are the answers? And they got to figure it out on Monday night. And we'll see what they can be able to do. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But this is going to be a high-octane series. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Looking at the Sunday's games, I already have some previews for the Eastern Conference semifinals. We're also going to get Game 7 between the Kings and Warriors. That's going to be highly entertaining. I believe it's on at 3 o'clock, as well as the Heat and Knicks Game 1, Round 2 starting up. And then we have the Celtics and Sixers on Monday, followed by Game 2, Nuggets and Suns. That's going to be happening on TNT. So we're going to have a whole bunch of games there. I have the Eastern Conference preview that will also be up as well. I believe that will be up before this one. I already have those videos up on YouTube. Of course, check that out. Spotify, the Soapbox Network, the Soapbox Network on YouTube, the Basketball Soapbox on Spotify and other listening platforms. But check out those videos. Check out those episodes. Listening, watching, whatever the case, support the channel, like, comment, and subscribe as always. And that will do it for this one. As a short one, just a recap of Game 1. We'll be looking at Sunday's games as well. And everyone enjoy the weekend of some basketball. What's left of the rest of the weekend? Enjoy it. There's basketball on. And I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see the Game 7, of course, with the Kings and Warriors. And then we get the throwback series again with the Heat and Knicks. It's going to be entertaining. I hope everyone enjoys it. And thank you for joining me on this one as we continue this basketball journey. Thank you.